Well, here it is. I bought the 1960 Pontiac Catalina. Just got done giving it a bath, top, bottom, inside and out. Well, not the inside, but the undercarriage and exterior. Considering the age of the car, I think that it's in pretty darn good condition. The undercarriage is solid as a rock. There is no rust in the floor pans, nothing. Trunk had a couple little holes in the usual spots. And the gas pedal still has flashing on it from when it was manufactured. This thing is really super clean. Fuel gauge is on full because the tank's out. That's what GMs do. It's got a cold and hot light, oil. The mileage, which was 25,336 miles. That is the ammeter. That's where a clock would go. Heater controls. It's got a radio delete. Padded dashboard. Well, maybe it's not. No, it's not a padded dash. I thought it was. It's just a different color red. It's mint though. The steering wheel's in nice shape. I think for the most part a good cleaning, and we'll leave the interior and the body pretty much all the way it is. I washed it. I hosed out in the door jambs. That's why there's a little water on the floor. I'll clean all that interior up so that'll look like new. The seats, that's the worst part, is the front seat. There's a rip right there too. But yeah, headliner's nice. No stains in the headliner. Visors are good. The door weather stripping, all the windows work in the car. I don't have a keys to the car yet, so there's no opening the trunk. We'll do that. I'll get the keys made probably Monday or Tuesday. We'll get the trunk open and see what surprises lay in the trunk. Maybe I'll be lucky and the radiator and shroud will be in there. The guy's going to bring me down the gas tank and clean the undercarriage. You can see how unbelievably clean this car is on the underneath. It's still wet from washing it. The exhaust system's still all intact, not rusted out, no holes in it. That's the gas line and the wire for the fuel sender hanging down there. This is where the fuel cap is in there. The filler neck is still in the car. The wheel wells washed out all the mud and dirt and stuff in the wheel wells. I know the light isn't that good, but it's evening now and it's November, so the sun goes down. That control arm, I think, was bent from somebody jacking the car incorrectly, and I can straighten that. Look at those floor pans. They are really clean. A little dirt there I missed. That's just dirt. But this car has the cleanest undercarriage of any car I've ever restored. I've done about 50 cars. I've never had one that has this clean of an undercarriage. The 59 Chevy has a pretty clean undercarriage, but this one I think is cleaner. This thing is pretty much, well, still see some dirt and a little surface rust through the undercoating, but no rust through. Frame's in good shape. I haven't pushed the brake pedal or any of that. The car hasn't been driven in It's been locked up in a barn for 37 years. The guy lost the keys, so that's why I can't get in the trunk. I still got to get the keys made for the car. We'll take a look at the 389. I did some laundering under the hood with the pressure washer. I didn't hit the engine because I don't want to get it wet because I can't start it and dry it out. I did power wash the fender wells and the core support and some of this. There's antifreeze running out of the engine block when he was unloading it off from the tow truck, so there's still coolant in the block, which is a good sign. Those are the OEM hoses from the day one. The heater and the radiator hoses are the factory original hoses on this car, and they are in tough shape. Got the decal on the air cleaner. Does not have power brakes. Does have power steering. And it is a 389 with a 2-barrel. It's 283 horsepower. And it does have the 3-speed automatic in it. And has, as you can see in the selector, I'll see if I can get this in there nicely. Nice view of it. Has the park, neutral, drive in 2 positions, low and reverse. Headlights, wipers, heater controls, ignition, cigarette lighters over there, vent for the floor, one on each side, an ashtray that's never been used, the clean glove box. The guy bought it from his uncle's estate in 1979. His uncle bought the car brand new. It was the original owner's name. So yeah, this is one sweet old car. Nice low mileage Catalina. We'll see if we can't get that 389 freed up and running, and if I can't, I'll pull the engine, tear it down, rebuild it. I think that the engine shouldn't be too bad because the brakes freed up when he was unloading it from the wrecker, and this thing was in a clean, dry barn with a metal roof. It was covered up, so I think that it was on a wood floor, so it was a dry environment. So I think that engine probably will be salvageable. Hopefully it is. I'll get the plugs out and look in the cylinders and pull the valve covers, make sure none of the valves are stuck if I get it turning, rebuild the carburetor, put a fuel pump on it, or rebuild that fuel pump, change oil and filter, top off the transmission, or maybe just drop the sump and change it. It obviously needs new belts. I think these are the original belts, and I suspect if they have been replaced, it's been better than 40 years, so I suspect once that motor starts turning, those belts are going to be history. Somebody had cut the hoses, so I suspect somebody robbed the radiator for something else. It wasn't like they undid the hoses, take the radiator out and have it repaired. So, well, I'll grease up the chassis, lube everything up. Probably have to replace everything in the brake system, the hydraulic lines. Everything's in good shape on this car though. But if I'm going to the work of doing that, I might as well change it all. Somebody's put an aftermarket fuel filter in it, and I see a little RTV on the fuel pump, and that's not a rebuildable type. That's not the original style of fuel pump, so I'll just put a new pump on it. So the fuel pump's been replaced. The generator and starter are date coded correct for the car. The carburetor is correct. So I don't think this, I think this is pretty virgin car with the 25,000 original miles on it. Vacuum motors run the blend air doors and whatnot instead of Bowden cables like they did on the Chevy. The Chevrolet used. I guess that's when you bought a Pontiac, you got a little upgrade, and the Pontiac was the next one up from the Chevrolet. The pressure washed the top of the hood. That's why there's a little water on the air cleaner of the engine. I didn't want to blast the engine until I can get it running. Then if I get it running, I'll steam clean the engine and paint it up a little. Well, maybe I won't paint it up. Maybe I won't even clean it. I kind of like the car pretty much well as it is, an original. Just make it a nice driver. Go cruising in it. It's got two of the original T3 headlights in it. I don't know if those headlights are the original. I don't think so. They're not T3s. So the couple of the headlights have been replaced. This car was in Gladwin, Michigan, which is kind of in mid-lower peninsula. Well, that's a little bit about the 60 Pontiac Catalina, and I'll do more videos of it as I work on it. And like I say, I'm going to pull the plugs and get some penetrant in the cylinders tonight and see if I can't get that engine unstuck. Monday or Tuesday I think I'll get the keys made and we'll get in the trunk and see what kind of goodies are in there. Maybe the hubcaps are in there for the car. Look nice with a set of hubcaps. I'm going to have to go get a set of tires for it so I can move it around. It does, the wheels do roll now, but I put it on the dollies so I can push it in and out of the garage a little easier. I got to turn it around. I want the front end of the garage. So there you go. That's a little bit more on the new acquisition. I think it'll be a fun old car. Get it fixed up, cleaned up, running and driving, and put for sale signs on it while I drive it. Well, I finished washing the car and got it into the garage, and we got the spark plugs out, and I sprayed a little bit of that into the cylinders, let it sit for a few minutes. Put a breaker bar on the front pulley, rocked it back and forth a little bit, and the way she went turns over just fine. I didn't turn it a complete turn because I want to take the valve covers off and make sure none of the valves are stuck, so I'll hit that, all the valve stems with the penetrant and make sure they all move properly as I turn the motor over by hand. I'm going to pump a bunch of oil in the cylinders before I start turning it over by hand, and then I'll rebuild the carburetor and clean the points and see if it starts. Has not been started in 37 years. The guy lost the keys and the car hasn't even been unlocked in that time. The first time it was unlocked was like 2 or 3 days ago when I first looked at the car. I brought my tools to get in the car, and that was the first time it had even been unlocked in 37 years. This car is just really a fun car. Oh, and I checked the oil on the stick, and it's full and it's clean. It looks like brand new oil. I mean, I wiped it on my fingers and it wasn't even black. Transmission fluid is clean, nice red up on the stick. So I'll have to check that once I get the engine started, because I'm sure the torque converter is drained into the sump and it's way over. So probably by the time the fluid gets pumped back into the torque converter, the transmission will probably be low, although there is no fluid leaks under this car whatsoever. Everything's dry underneath. Yeah, well, after 37 years, I guess you'd expect that, but yeah, so the plugs all looked really good. You can see the penetrant on the cylinder heads a little bit, where I filled the cylinders with that stuff that I showed you that's sitting on the air cleaner, and the spark plugs all really look good. I'm going to put them back in, and hopefully this 283 horsepower, 389 cubic inch engine runs. And it should be quiet. The exhaust system is all solid, complete, no holes, no nothing. And I suspect once I pressure wash that engine, it'll look pretty darn good too. It's just really greasy, but the grease tends to protect the paint and whatnot. So usually when you degrease them, they look pretty good. And the air cleaner, that's not really rusty, it's just dirt. And I think once that's washed off, it'll look better too. So anyway, a little bit about the 1960 Catalina on the first evening I've had it. This is the only tire that doesn't hold air. The bead is broken on it, so it will not inflate. These tires are really, I don't think this camera will show just how bad these tires really are. I was amazed it inflated.